Welcome. We are going to start our class tonight. This is a very interesting Parsha. The name of the Parsha is called Shelach. Shelach in Hebrew means sent, and this is in your books, in your Chumashim in front of you. It's on page 884. And sent is referring to the famous episode which took place in the desert, known as the story of the Meraglim. Meraglim means the spies. And this is where the Jewish people wanted to know what is the way to figure out in conquering the land of Israel. And how do we know that the Jewish people wanted it? Since the Parsha doesn't tell us that the Jewish people wanted it. So as I mentioned many times, it's important to find the details of some of the stories which are mentioned in the early 4 books. You can find some of those details in the 5th book called the Book of Devarim. Devarim is also referred to, the book of Deuteronomy is also referred to as Mishneh Torah. Mishneh Torah means the repetition of Torah, because it was in the last month of Moshe's life that he went and he had repeated the Torah to the Jewish people, and he shares and he reviews some of the previous stories. And in those stories, sometimes there is more details they were not specified at the time when the story is written originally.
So it's not like it's
It's not a short version of the original story. Sometimes it's a more expanded version of the original story. So, for example, this week's Parsha begins that God tells Moshe, send for yourself men to go and tour the land. If you go to the book of Deuteronomy, the first Parsha, you can look it up on page 1064, verse 22. So there, Moshe repeats the story of the spies, and he starts off by saying, "Vatikrevu leilai kulchem," but you all approached me, a rowdy mob. Vatoimru, and he said, "Nishlecho anoshim lefoneinu." Let's send men ahead of us. V'yachperu lonu es haaretz, who will search out the land for us. V'yoshivu oisonu dover es haderech asher na'alebo v'yiseorim asher novo yalein. And let them report to us back regarding what is the best way and what's the way to the route and onward. But this idea that it was the people who came, and not only, as Rashi said, it was like a mob coming, the young pushing the old, and not really respecting each other, coming kind of attacking Moshe with a request, is a part of the story, for example, that only when you get to Dvarim, you're going to find it out. In this Parsha, you're not going to find it. But the story is a famous story where the 12 men who were the leaders of the tribes, were chosen to go and scout the land of Israel. The idea was clearly to see what it is, and there was never an idea to come back with any advice, what and how, just to report the facts. And 10 of the 12 came back, and they chose to bring back a evil report with a conclusion. And the conclusion was that we should actually not try to go into the land because they are some very strong people, and this is not going to work. As many of these details you can read in the Parsha. Where at the time when the people heard that, they responded with an outcry of what's going on, why are we going? And God obviously upset again after all that, what they gave them and showed them. This is, by the way, just happened a little more than a year since the giving of the Torah. It happened on the 28th of Sivan, is when the spies were sent, which is like very soon after on the second year, I'm sorry. So it's about a year and a year and maybe a couple of months, a couple of weeks after the giving of the Torah and after the story of the golden calf and after the giving of the second set of tablets and after the first Yom Kippur. So a lot of things already happened in this past year, which God clearly demonstrated, a relationship with the people. And yet, again, coming up with a complaint. And for that, unfortunately, the response was that we are not going to continue to Israel so quick as it was planned originally. Matter of fact, God says for every day you spent in Israel, you're going to spend a year in the desert. And since the journey in Israel was 40 days, so they ended up being in the desert now for 40 years. And it wasn't only the amount of years corresponding to the amount of days, there was also a designated time to make sure that no one who is older 20 is going to remain alive when the time comes to enter the land. And everybody died.
Except
The two did not weren't who didn't come back with a bad report. That's part of the story that there was Yoshua ben Nun and Caleb ben Yefuneh from the tribe of Yehuda, and they said no, we should go up there, and the land is beautiful and everything is great, and that's what happened. This is one of the major stories that till today, once a year, when we are mourning and crying over the destruction of the temple, which is later in the month of Av, the 9th of Av, our tradition teaches that this is the very same night when the congregation sat and cried and wept for the fact that they might have to go to Israel. When the spies came back, it was the 9th of Av on the Jewish calendar, and God kind of said, you had cried for no reason, your outcry was in vain, and I'm going to end up giving you a reason for crying. And that cry is the crying of the destruction of the temple. So this is basically the story, the review of part of the story in Parsha Shelach. The Parsha continues yet with another important additional information about korbanot, sacrifices, which were brought to the temple, mainly the idea of the nesachim. Nesachim means libations, which is the wine or that you pour when an offering is being sacrificed. And last but not least, this parsha of this week has a paragraph, which is a paragraph that we are actually reading in the Shema every single day, twice a day, when we say the Shema. This is known as the portion of the mitzvah of tzitzit. Tzitzit is on page 906. That's a very interesting mitzvah. And the mitzvah basically says that you have a garment which has 4 corners to it. So when you wear that garment, you shall tie strings to its corners. And somehow the number of the strings and the way they are tied is going to remind you the commandments that you are meant to fulfill in God's will. Many people wear a designated 4-corner garment, part of the dress code every day. Some even sleep with that garment, including myself. And that garment you always wear, even though you were not planning to buy a 4-corner garment. You designated a garment with 4 corners. This is called talit. During prayer, it's called talit gadol, the shell that you wear and you wrap yourself during prayer. And the one that you wear on your garments is called talit katan. or it's also known as the mitzvah of tzitzit. Since it's a mitzvah which mainly is required to a garment of daytime, at nighttime, those who sleep with the garment is because when they wake up in the morning, they want to make sure that there is no time during day that they don't wear tzitzit. But it's not that you have to sleep with tzitzit because at night you are required with tzitzit. The requirement is for a daytime garment. So it goes into the category of time-binded commandments that women are exempt. That's why men are the ones who are fulfilling the mitzvah. This is the garment that you have. Make a little presentation. I'm going to untuck myself so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Forgive me, my pens are not going to fall down, hopefully. So here, you see, behind my shirt, I wear a garment that has two corners in the front and has two corners in the back. And this is a special designated garment that's on top of the garment itself. There is tzitzit. This is the strings, which it has 8 strings on each side. You see, 8 on each corner. And somehow, when you look at those strings, you remind yourself on all the commandments that God had commanded you. How? Well, there's different ways of figuring it out. One of that is what Rashi brings up, that the actual Hebrew word tzitzit, so the 5 letters which make up the word tzitzit, like every Hebrew letter also has a numerical value. The letter tzaddik is 90, and the letter yud is 10, and the letter taf is 400. So 90 plus 10, tzi, is 100. Tzi, another tzaddik yud, is another 100, is 200, and the taf is 400. So the word tzitzit makes up which number? 600. And yet, since you have, in addition to the 600, you have 4 corners of tzitzit. What is that? 600 and?
4 times 8, right?
No, you have 8 strings on every corner, so it's 8. Plus you have 5 knots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what's the equal number? 613. And 613 equals to the amount of commandments that we have. We have 248 positive commandments and 365 negative commandments. And that's what this tzitzit reminds us. Usually, like I said, this is meant to have only if the garment is dressed and you end up having 4 corners. So for example, take a look. My coat I'm wearing, this is a coat, right? And it has a cut in the middle here. So I have 1 corner, I have a second corner, I have another corner, another corner. So how come I don't have tzitzit on it? What? No, but this is a 4-corner garment. This should have tzitzit.
But you take that off.
Huh?
You take that one off.
I can't hear you.
No strings.
Why is there no springs? Just the 4 corners.
Take that one off.
No, yeah, I wear it right now. I should have corners.
You already got the corners.
Doesn't matter. Any garment of 4 corners should have tzitzit. What's the answer? I will show you a trick now that you didn't know. When we prepare this coat, it's a Hasidic garb that a lot of us are wearing on regular days, on Saturdays for sure. You see 1 corner what I did? 1 corner is rounded. That's a trick. So I shouldn't have to put it. Is that a corner? So I have 3 corners. You are a loophole. I have 4 corners. 1, 2, 3, and then there is a round one. If this would have been like a corner, then I would have afterwards. It's internet too. Now, this mitzvah of tzitzit, we actually read twice a day, because it's the 3rd paragraph of the Shema. You can see it on page 906. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe lemor, God said to Moses, saying, Daber bnei Yisrael v'amart alehem v'asu lahem tzitzit. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, they should make tzitzit. What are they translating in English over here, the word tzitzit? Tassels for themselves on the corners of their garments throughout their generation. ונתנו על ציצית הכנף תכלת, they should place a thread of turquoise wool
Did we see
in
that?
the tzitzit on each corner. We don't have it because according to tradition, we don't know exactly how to identify that color, the turquoise or the tchelet color. It's supposed to be from the blood of ink of a certain fish called chilazon. It's supposed to look like the color of the sky. There were people throughout the generations. We used to have it during temple times. The last 2,000 years, it is lost. So we can't identify it, even though, practically speaking, there were rabbis and scholars who were investing time and effort to try to identify the original. There was a famous rabbi in Poland of a Hasidic dynasty called Radzin before World War II, and he claimed to identify the Tchelet. He traveled between different communities and tried to sell his idea. Some people fell for it, not fell, agreed to it, some didn't. In Chabad, the rabbis didn't, even though he came, he traveled all the way to Russia and Lubavitch to try to share the idea with the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab. And the Rebbe told them, you might be right in everything you say, but the Hari, the founder of the Kabbalah, writes that since the temple is destroyed, that colored chelet is disappeared. So if he writes it disappeared, I'm not expecting it to reappear until the coming of Moshiach. That's why we don't word chelet, but you can see people today word chelet. And so what?
Like the animal that they used to cover the ark with, the same.
One of their colors was chelet. That's right. Turquoise. So anyway, so that string we don't have. So for us, all strings are actually made of white. And what does it say on verse 39? This will be your tzitzit, והיה לכם לציד, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות השם, ועשיתם אותם. And when you will see them, when you see it, you will remember all the commandments of God to perform them. And ולא תסורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. And you will not follow after the spies of the evil inclination, your heart and your eyes, which lead you astray, so that you will remember and perform all my commandments, and you will be holy to you, God. אני השם אלוקיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוקים, אני השם אלוקיכם. I am God, your God, who took you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am God, your God. We read it every morning and every afternoon because this is the paragraph which reminds us again that we left Egypt, and there is a commandment to remember every single day that we left Egypt. It's not only we have one time a year that we celebrate the exodus from Egypt, this is the holiday of Passover, but in addition, every single day, twice a day, we are actually commanded in the morning and in the evening to remember that we were once in Egypt and God took us out of Egypt to become his people. This is what the mitzvah calls tzitzit. This is the strings. You can see right away there's a connection between the beginning of the Parsha, the first story, with the end of the Parsha. What's the connection? What word connects us both stories? We just read a word. What's the word? Take a look again. You didn't pay attention, maybe. Take a look at the English translation if you need to.
Tassels?
What?
Tassels?
No, that wasn't in the story of the spies. What word? Oh, and you should not follow after the spies of the evil inclination. So you see, there are spies, and there are spies. Lot taturu. The word taturu means to spy. Like it says, but the spies also, by Yashuvu milatur et haaretz, and they return from spying in the land. So spying is called latur. The lot tatur means don't follow your spies. Why the spies? The eyes and the heart. secret spies by the evil inclination. The evil inclination sends your eyes to see what you're not supposed to, and to hear what you're not supposed to. It tries to entice you to get involved in it. So the idea is don't follow your eyes, don't follow your heart. Keep a connection with Almighty God. This is the connection. So what was the real problem of the spies? I know every year we speak about it and all the commentaries are discussing it, and everybody who knows and learned, and I'm sure everybody did learn, what was the main issue with the spies since they were told to spy. And what they saw is, if they saw what they saw, is what they saw. So if you're a spy, you come back with a report, what you saw. You got to keep honest to your mission. So what was wrong?
They gave their own opinion.
They gave an opinion in addition to the information. And the opinion was not based on really what they saw, but really how they saw it. The way they saw things is what they saw. How they see it is, it got me scared, it's not going to work. The interpretation of the sights they saw. And the devoted spy, the devoted messenger, comes back to his boss with a report. Done. No one asks you for advice.
Here's the facts.
I know in our East Side Torah Center, I have many people who always give advice. If I would only get help for the amount of people and the amount of advice I get, we would have probably a very rich shul with so many programs and I'm sure more than the Kiddush we have. The only problem is there is more advice than support.
You said in previous years, another one, the way they said it was really Lashon Hora.
Right. So that's why I said that there's a lot of information, but it all leads to the same thing. One example is a very interesting example, which is actually Rashi brings it from the Talmud. The Talmud has a lot of interpretation into the story of the spies. Those who study Talmud know that in the tractate, which is called Sota, on page 35, 34, there's a lot of insight into the story with different interpretations. One of them is, for example, I'm only using it as an example. They come back, and what do they say? One of the words they say, just a second. Take a look on verse 22, page 890 or 891 in English. Verse 32 says as follows: Vayitziu diba so'oretz asher toru oiso el bnei Yisrael leimer. They produced a report about the land which they had explored, telling the children of Israel the following: Haaretz asher avarnu ba latur ota. You see, latur, lotatur. The land we passed through and explored it. Eretz ochelet yoshvea is a land which consumes its inhabitants. What does it mean? It consumes its inhabitants. How does it swallow? So the Talmud tells us, and Rashi brings it in his interpretation of the Chumash. What happened was, they came, and what happened was in every community city they passed, at the same day, one of the major leaders of the communities had died. And there was a huge procession, a funeral for that leader. You think Iran is planning a procession for Khamenei? I don't think it's going to happen. Who knows? Can never know what's going on there. But I read in the news last few days that they were planning to make a mega event, try to bury Khamenei, right? Talmud says that the Jewish people, they're traveling 12 men, and anywhere they go, oops, again, with everybody at a funeral. And they're going with a casket, who died? Some Amorite leader, some Canaanite leader, some Gergoshiite leader. One of the leading leaders of the nations who were in that land. So when they come back, they say, "Uy, it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. Funerals day after day, 40 days, non-stop funerals." What is really happening here? So Rashi says from the Talmud in Sota page 35, 34, that what happened was God specifically worked it out that those people who had to die should die at a short time period that the spies are there. And while being busy with funerals, they are not going to pay attention to the spies. They're trying to avoid attention, trying to avoid attraction, trying to make sure to be under the radar. How are you going to be under the radar? If everybody's in the cemetery, then you're under the radar. So instead of looking at it and saying, Almighty God, you're amazing. You just worked it out for us so great. Nobody's in town. Everybody's at a funeral. We can do it, check out and examine and search and tour and spy anything we need. Instead, they're coming back. Everybody's at funerals. Everybody's dying. What does that mean? It's not what you see, it's how you see it.
Mhm.
If they would have come back and say what we saw was funerals of the leaders, Moses would say, amazing. Isn't God great that he helped you in your mission, making sure that nobody has the ability to check after you? But instead they're coming back, whoa, what a country. Talmud continues. Take a look at next verse, on verse 33. ושם ראינו את הנפילים בני ענק, we saw the Nephilim, some giants they saw, ונהי בעינינו כחגבים, ונהי בעינינו כחגבים, translated into English, that those giants were like grasshoppers in our eyes, and that's how we were in their eyes. וכן היינו בעיניהם. Meaning, when they saw those giants, they felt, oh, what are we? Little grasshopper. And when the giants were looking at us, what did they saw? Little grasshopper.
How did they know?
How did they know? The Talmud says, reading. Talmud says, how do they know that they think about you like grasshopper? Maybe they think like, and as the Medrash actually said, they were saying, wow, look at those angels walking here. But how come they didn't think that they viewed them as angels? Because it was their perception, in their mind. As the Hasidic master, the Sfasemes of Gur says, because you perceived yourself as a grasshopper, therefore people look at you as a grasshopper. If you would perceive yourself as an angel or as a giant, you might be perceived as an angel or giant. It's the perception you create about yourself is how you're being perceived. So again, clear. In every part of the story, it's not about what they see. If they would come back and say, we saw giants, fine. Moses would say, so giants, who's scared of giants? God split the sea, he can take care of giants. But the moment they started playing it around as a part of a complaint, as a part of a situation that how we're going to deal with, and fabricating information. This is called fabrication. You say that we were in their eyes as grasshoppers. Did anybody tell it to you? Did you get a message? Was it in the news that some grasshopper looked like people were traveling through the land? Nobody spoke about it. As far as we are concerned, they saw you and they said, wow, look at those holy, amazing people walking through you. They look like so strong, we should never start up with them. I don't know what he said. This is, again, it's not what you see, it's how you see it. And this is the issue of the spies, which now we can understand why is tzitzit so necessary. What does tzitzit tell you? Don't stray after your eyes. meaning don't look at things externally. What's the idea of tzitzit? You're going to see it, ureitem oto, uschalten. You're going to see the seeing it is going to help you remember, and the remembrance is going to help you practice. Re'iyah mevi'ah lidei schira, schira mevi'ah lidei asiyah, as the Gemara says. Seeing leads to remembering. Remembering leads to doing. And that's how we're going to end up practicing the mitzvahs. So now we understand what is the connection between the end of the Parsha and the beginning of the Parsha. The beginning of the Parsha is what? Looking at things wrongly. And the tikkun, the repairing of the sin of the spies is what? Looking at things the way we are meant to look at it. Palamayr. This Shabbos is the Shabbos before the 3rd of Tammuz. Next Thursday is going to be the 3rd of Tammuz. 3rd of Tammuz is the yahrzeit anniversary of passing of the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, who passed away in 1994, the 3rd of Tammuz. In the Rebbe's writings, in his talks, there was one statement which was very frequent used in his discussions, in his talks. He used to say it in the name of his father-in-law, who shared it in the name of the Baal Shem Tov. It's actually printed in Hayom Yom, the book, small booklet the Rebbe gave out, first book the Rebbe gave out in 1943. And here it says as follows: the Baal Shem Tov says that everything a person sees or hears, he needs to draw from it a message in his own service to God. And the Rebbe, in so many different occasions, relating to so many different situations, always mentioned the same statement. If you saw something, it appeared to you, that means that there is a positive message for you. This is based on one of the most fundamental principles in Judaism, emphasized by Hasidism, the concept of divine providence. Divine providence means that God watches every step of the way. So if you ended up seeing something, there is not a coincidence. If something happens, it's not a coincidence. If something happens that comes from God, for you to see it means to interpret it in a way that it will improve your relationship with God. And the idea of positively looking at things was so much emphasized in the Rebbe's teachings and his writings. And I'm going to use a few examples that I want to share tonight in honor of the 3rd of Tammuz. Since I'm not going to be on the 3rd of Tammuz, I'm going to be back next Shabbat, but probably class will be the Rabbi Levi or Rabbi Shevitz, one of them, they're both staying here. So a letter, for example, I'm going to share a few letters. The Rebbe used to write to different people who either ask or seek out a blessing for their personal jobs. And the Rebbe advises them on their life, asking them to look into their job formula and draw from that situation a lesson how can they enhance their relationship to God. One example is a letter that I have over here, it's printed and I copied that, is to a pharmacist. A pharmacist who is producing medicine, creams, and prescriptions for a person's health improvement. And the Rebbe writes that you are a pharmacist. There's many lessons. The fact that you are a pharmacist is something that you see every day. You are occupied every day in pharmacy. But let me share with you a few lessons as how you should view life as a pharmacist. And there's a number of lessons. Two of them, the Rebbe says as follows. Number one, you can be a scholar, you can read books in medicine, but voice to the person who makes up his own medicine without taking the instruction from an expert. You can't just go to the library, open a book, and say, oh, this looks like a good mix.
AI.
Exactly. AI might not work for pharmacy. God forbid you're going to take information and AI is going to tell you to use this and that and the other. The next thing you know, you were looking for preventing a pregnancy, you got a triplets because you took the wrong pill. Just giving you an example.
God has a sense of humor.
Exactly. And we know that this sense of humor is dangerous if we play around with it. You got to have an instructor. You got to have someone you trust who's an expert. They evaluate, they take a prognosis, and they say, for this situation, this is what you need. Says the Rebbe, if you are a pharmacist, you have to learn that God is teaching you a lesson. Look at it. Look at your life. Look at your craft, so to speak, your hand occupation, and learn that I need an instructor. I need a teacher. Don't trust your knowledge. Don't just Google it or AI it. You have to go to a teacher who has a tradition from his teacher how to direct you in that particular situation. That's what the pharmacist knows better than everybody. More importantly, the Rebbe says, as a pharmacist, you also know that it's not enough that you have the medicine on the shelf. If a person wants to get cured, he actually has to swallow the medicine, which means in the life of Torah, in the life of mitzvot, don't just rely on my knowledge, my information. You got to swallow it. You got to bring it in. You got to practice it. An example, how to view your own job that you are every day walking into and personalizing it in a relationship with God. Second example, somebody writes to the Rabbi, his daughter was in a critical situation, a dangerous situation. She was saved. I recognized that God was really involved in the situation and saved the life. What does the Rebbe respond to him? This is very cute. It's as follows. I'm very happy to see that you realize that God watched your daughter from that situation. It's amazing. But your business, as you told me, is selling cars. He was a car dealer. So as a car dealer, let me explain you something that God wants you to understand while you're selling cars. You know when you sell a car and you start up the engine and you go out on a drive, you expect that the engine that they started will continue and will take me through my entire journey. Voice to the car that every few meters you have to restart the engine again. Right? That's called a broken car. The engine has to be working along the way. So you got a reminder from God, both by the situation that your daughter went through. Make sure that this reminder will keep you for a long time, and don't make God keep on reminding you. Don't make God keep on reminding you. It's enough that you got one reminder. There was one starter. I got it. Okay, I'm driving. Drive slow, but drive. Because what's going to happen is, if God forbid, every so often you got to start the car again, you get another reminder from God that means that something is broken here in your relationship. Why does it keep on visiting you? That's not meant to be. That's one reminder for a long time to go. So this is again a person driving a car. I'm sorry, being in the car of a dealer, and the Rebbe directs him to keep his eyes open to your very business and to see that this should be an eternal message in your perspective of how you relate to Hashem. A third letter, also a really beautiful letter. A laundryman. Somebody owns a laundromat. Then he wrote to the Rebbe about this business, laundry. And I guess the Rebbe realizes that his soul needs a little laundry too. A little dusty, a little dirty. The soul itself doesn't get destroyed, but you can have some dust on it. You can have a little dirt getting stick to it. You gotta put it into the wash machine. But the Rebbe tells this Jew, who is the owner of a laundromat, this is a letter of 1951. It's all printed in the Rebbe's letters, by the way. I'm only reading your letters. He writes them as follows. So you are a laundryman. So you know, how does it work when it comes to laundry? The garment gets dirty or gets smushy, you don't throw it out. Rather, what do? You put it into a bucket of hot water. You add some chemicals to laundry it. And then you take it out and you put it under an iron. And lo and behold, it's as if it was never dirty. As if it was never smushy. All smooth, clean, and nice. Says the Rebbe, look at your job and learn for yourself. Your soul messed up a little. You got involved in situations that you shouldn't have been involved in. You're a pure soul. You're a Jewish soul for those who are Jewish. And you were given the soul to keep and to protect and to perceive with purity. And you did something that God doesn't want you to do. Or you did something, or you did not do something that God does want you to do. And slowly, you collect dust, you collect dirt. Number one, you don't throw out the soul. Just like a dirty garbage, you don't just throw it out. No, you don't throw out. You don't throw out. Normal people don't throw out their clothes. If the only issue is cleaning, you try to find a way to clean it. But you got to first warm it up. Put it in hot boiling water. How do you boiling it up? What is the heat that we can refer to? Torah, God's wisdom is hot. God's commandments are warm. So get involved. Don't worry about your state. Start practicing Torah, but put it in water, put it in some liquid. Give it some vitality, says the Rabbi. Give it some energy. Don't do your mitzvah dry. It has to be liquid. It has to be like watery. It has to be some moist. Add some chemicals. Give some stock, do some extra good deeds in order to bring up the detergent in the water to give it a better chance to clean you. And then, says the Rebbe, you put it under an iron. Under an iron means, he says, an iron seems like something heavy. Ooh, pressing you. And then, I just picked up some from the laundry store. I picked up pants, and I was watching. They didn't have it ready. So I was watching this Chinese guy standing there with this steam, and he goes and putting down this big heavy wood on some nice Indian dresses. I mean, what else are you going to see in this community? And going up and down and cleaning it and working on it really delicately and involved. Very nice man. He always greets me nicely. Always interesting to know, what's going on with you guys. Like, what does it mean that you're a Jew? Like, so anyway. So the Rebbe says, you don't just do Torah mitzvahs. You do it even with a little heaviness on you. It's okay, let your body feel a little the yoke of the Torah. But that yoke makes your shirt only look nicer. Makes your dress look smoother. Right? It came out beautifully. They're not like all kabubbled and schmubbled, it comes out. A pressed dress, you can see the difference. A pressed shirt, pressed pair of pants. This is what the Rebbe writes to a laundromat owner, trying to teach him and direct him how to see the things that you see with the right perception, the right understanding. How can that will impact his neshama, his life, his soul. One more example I will read. It was very interesting, since I never knew about it either. As you know, I'm a very arrogant in the world of science. But the Rebbe writes to somebody who was involved in a company which was digging for gas. A gas company. And he writes to him to one of the opinions how gas is formed. You know how gas is formed that I did not know till last week when I read that letter? Apparently, there is an opinion which says that there are ancient creatures who were, take out the millions of years. Okay, let's keep to thousands, just for the sake of, since we're a group of Jewish believers. But those ancient creatures end up deep under the ocean. And by the fact that they are lacking carbon monoxide, and being pressed by the heat of the water, they produce gas. I'm sure Elisha knows about it. You never heard it?
Nothing. What about it?
Oh, why did you hear about 19? In my yeshiva, we never learned it.
It's like
Bernard, did you know about it? Oh,
it's common knowledge, like it's major propaganda amongst like environmental science.
so it's true, it's not true.
Maybe, but maybe not. A lot of scientists are against it now.
What do you think, Emily? Huh? You knew about it?
I don't remember. I
You don't
think I learned about it.
Comes down and the pressure,
Bernard,
decompose their bodies.
okay.
So,
Decompose, decompose, it becomes toxic. So the Rebbe brings it.
That's what happens with
The Rebbe brings it.
Upper five.
And the Rebbe says to this person whose business is in looking for oil, for fuel, for gas, and the Rebbe says that you can see that when you pressure a body with enough heat, you can produce gas which becomes a source of light and illumination. So the Rebbe says our bodies on their own have no life. We all know it. God forbid no one should ever see, but I saw people after they died. And they look exactly as they looked before they died. At least for the couple first hours, maybe more. And there's no one to talk to. They're not alive. They look exactly the same. So so you know that a life is not a body is not alive. What makes a body alive? It's the soul which energizes it. And at the moment there is a separation between soul and body, so goodbye. The soul goes back to its source of life, and the body remains. I don't want to make pictures, but I have those images very clear in my eye. Don't be scared. No nightmares tonight. Don't worry. If you're tired, you're gonna sleep good enough. And if not, you speak to the pharmacist we spoke before. Can help you too. So what does the Rebbe say? The Rebbe says the body on its own is dead. The body is not energized. Right? But the pressure of heat, you can even energize that body to the point that you can produce it. The Rebbe writes to a guy who's talking about his gas company that is looking for a blessing to be doing well in his business of gas. The Rebbe says, I don't know, if you talk gas and see gas and breathe gas, I mean literally, that's your job. Think about it, what God tells you here. That you have the chance to illuminate your body, but you have let your soul press on your body a little. and you will produce. The body will become a self-living entity with the energy of the soul. So this is examples, beautiful examples of in the wealth of the Rebbe wrote tens of thousands of letters. Literally, we have close to 40 volumes printed. There's more every time coming out of letters to people who, this is just 4 samples of those many letters: a pharmacist, a car dealer, a what? A laundromat, and a what's it called? A gas partner. And this is what this Parsha is all about. This is what Moses is trying to teach the spies. I sent you on a mission. Look the way the Baal Shem Tov taught us to look at things. Look that everything that Hashem shows you is for something good to happen. Just like 2 of the 12 who had the right pair of glasses came back, they saw the same land, they saw the same funerals, they saw the same people, and what did they say? What did they say? Take a look on verse 7 on page 892. Vayoimru el kol adaz bnei Yisrael leimer. And they, who is they? Joshua ben Nun and Caleb the son of Yefuneh, and they said to the entire congregation of the children of Israel, saying, Haaretz asher avarnu ba laturota, the land we passed through to explore it. Toiva haaretz me'oid is a very, very good land. Im chafetz banu Hashem ve'ivir isonu l'eretz hazois, if God desires us, He will bring us to that land. Unesonu lanu, and give it to us. Eretz asher hi zavas cholav udvash, a land flowing with milk and honey. What are you guys talking about? So you have 12 men watching the same show. 10 come back. Disgusting, terrible, never gonna make it. 2 did not see anything different. It's not that they had better glasses. It's not that they have a better eyesight. They had a different perception. They were coming to see it from a state of emunah. They knew if God sent them to look at it, they can only see good. And therefore, they were looking for the good. And therefore, they ended up seeing it good. And this is what the Baal Shem Tov teaches us. And this is what the Rebbe, your Yorkshire this coming week, kept on instilling in us. You're going to see all kinds of things. And you have a choice how to look at it. What we see, you're all going to see the same. You have a choice to decide how you want to look at it. Either you're going to look at it as a source of inspiration, sometimes even it's real bad things that someone sees. So you can walk away and say, terrible. Look at those kids, how they made to behave. Look at them. Or you can say, things are so bad. Stronger. So I have to involve myself in my service to Hashem. So I should make sure that how much more prayer I have to give and I have to share. So for those people to improve. It's to strengthen you, not to walk around and to close the door and to say, I'm fed up with this crazy world and I'm done with it. This is called Hashgacha Pratis. This is called divine providence. This is called the outlook of life. And this is what the Parsha of Tzitzis is. You take a look and you see, and the seeing tells you, don't look externally. Because if you look externally, obviously it's gonna end up to be very depressing. There's a story that When the fruit Hasidic teachers shared with us the two Hasidim came to visit, I think, the fifth Rebbe. Both came from Odessa. One comes, first the Rebbe said, first guy in Odessa, and he had a bucket of complaints about Odessa. People don't behave in Odessa, this in Odessa, Jewish kids are not really conducting so properly in Odessa, and the shul doesn't have a minyan every day in Odessa. And then a second Jew came in. Where are you from? Odessa. Odessa. Oh, Rebbe, Odessa. I saw there a Jew going, helping someone. I saw someone keeping Shabbos. I saw someone giving tzedakah. Wow, it's an amazing place. Everybody has gone Odessa. Depends what you want to see in Odessa. We are believers in our nature, the nature of our soul. And the nature of our belief is that God only does good things. And God doesn't have accidents. And God has a purpose in everything He does. And if you go with that belief system, so whatever you see, it means to encourage you, to inspire you, not, God forbid, to look away and come back like the spies. That's the story of this Parsha. That's the story of the Rebbe. So with this in mind, I want to wish you all a very good week and good eyesight. We'll strengthen ourselves and always see the good in others and to know what good is, what to make the right choices. I'm going to be at the Rebbe's oil, the Rebbe's graveside. There was an interview recently with the president of Argentina. What's his name? Miele. He's a character. He's a character. He's a character. What?
He studies under a Jew.
He studies, yeah. But he's a character. He goes to the Wailing Wall, goes to Israel a lot, and he also goes to the Rebbe's oil in Queens. Many times he visited Queens already. He comes to the cemetery, davened. So he was interviewed. I have it on a clip from a television interview, I think, Channel 14 in Israel. So the interviewer asks him in English, so what do you go to the wall and to the Rebbe's gravesite? What are you trying to accomplish? He answered very wisely, I think. He says, I go to the Wailing Wall, I go to the Kotel, I pray to God, I should be able to choose between good and bad. I need to have strength. So I'm praying, and the wall is a very good place for prayer. The prayers go up to straight to heaven. And then I also go to the Rebbe's gravesite in New York. Why do I go there? So he said, by the wall I'm praying, what am I praying for? To choose between good and bad. At the Ohel, at the Rebbe's gravesite, I'm praying I should know what is good and what is.
Okay.
And he's a guy, he's not Jewish. But he gets it. Sometimes go and get it too. Forgive me.
Yeah, the one I read just a couple of days ago, he was going to be celebrating the third atonement also.
Yeah, he was just he just gave a big speech.
Yes,
A big speech in Argentina about it. Anyway, Laila Tov, only good news. God bless you all. God bless America. God bless Israel. God bless the entire world. Thank you. Bye bye. Laila Tov, everybody.
You took the light there?